Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Welcome to the MMA Opinion Podcast, guys. This is Liam O'Griffin here, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Paul O.D.
How are things? And this week we will be talking about upcoming fights that have just been announced and Bellator introducing a ranking system.
We're also going to do a full preview even, of UFC Vegas 19. So lots to be getting on with. Let's be getting on.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
We're getting better. We nearly have it kind of smooth now.
One out of every 3 attempts you get that right, so.
I wouldn't be cut for the UFC for losing 2 after every one.
That's true as well, but to be fair, I've minimised my role in the introduction as well to the as much as possible.
So news events this week, we have a couple of fights that have been announced that we want to feature, isn't it?
Yeah, if we go back, I suppose earlier in the week, the biggest news coming out of this week was that Leon Edwards is going to get to stay on that March 13th card, and that Belal Muhammad has stepped up. And a lot of people commenting on the fact that this is a risky fight for Leon Edwards. He's taking on number 13 in the world, and there doesn't appear to be much upside for him with a victory. But the argument against that is that Kaimeev was ranked 14 in the world and possibly didn't even belong at 14 in the world. And that was the original opponent, so yeah, it's no greater risk than taking on Chimaev, if you will. Like, the guy's coming off a big win. Yep. So there's a little bit of momentum there anyway, and he's getting a fight. I think that's just the main thing for Leon.
Yeah, so some of the comments that were on that particular post there, anything stand out to you there?
Yeah, well, Lawrence King-Sadeo there makes a very good point. Dang props to Belal. He says his leg was getting beat up in his last fight, and that is very true. You talked about this. Those leg kicks can take weeks to recover from.
And it is a quick turnaround. I mean, he looks like a tough fella, so I'd say bit of Tiger Balm and a bit of Albazile or something.
Certainly in that second round, it looked like his leg was gone from underneath him, and it was pure determination that was getting him through that last round. So yeah, it might be a factor. We don't know. It's something I'm sure that Leon Edwards has looked at as well.
The true point from Christopher as well, saying he's going to have to win about 15 fights before he gets a title shot. Like, there's no love for Leon Edwards whatsoever. He's kind of like the Charles Olive of the the welterweight division, isn't he?
Do you know who he reminds me of? If you go back to the days of Roy Nelson when he first broke on the heavyweight scene, and his mantra was just do enough to win the fight. And kind of Tyrone Woodley, before he got that title shot, he was very similar in the sense that...
And Kamaru Usman, Mr. 30%.
Yeah, exactly. They never really put it all out in the line, but they did enough to win. Unfortunately for those guys, that's just the game they're in. They don't sell, so they're going to have to do more to get that shot. Now, I do believe that Leon is 1 away, maybe 2 away. Does Belal get him there, though, is the question, main event?
No, I don't think so. I think both of them are, well, for Leon, maybe if he has an impressive win, I think this might give him that number 1 contender spot next. For Belal, I think he needs 2 more. I think he needs this and 1 more. But crazier things have happened. I mean, like the division's going to be held up now for a while with they've announced that it's Usman and Jorge now for a tough.
Well, they haven't officially announced it, but that's what they are targeting, yeah.
And that Colby now is going against who's the other guy? Sorry, Gilbert Burns.
Yeah.
So there's like a 4-man tournament there. Leon Edwards and Belal are outside of that.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like,
realistically, it isn't going to be away. 1. Yeah. But like you said as well, though, the welterweight division at the moment isn't on fire. There's not that many contenders. So guys that get big wins, regardless of their ranking, if they're high up there, they could get that next shot. And you don't know with Jorge and Usman what's going to happen. If one of those guys pulls out, you have to be ready.
Yeah, so just we might as well read another couple of comments there while we're at it. Who else we got? We got Izani Shinguji. I'd probably ruined your name there, but look, I did my best. Respect to Belal for stepping up, and Edwards for wanting to fight. But man, I feel like Leon should have been booked against someone with a better name value.
The problem is there's no one available.
And we spoke about that. I think this was the news item we said we were going to talk about as well. Was that it wasn't that Leon Edwards didn't want to fight anybody bigger name is that he wanted to stay on the March card, and then nobody was available for that particular card. Yeah. So,
there was arguments that he shut down the Colby fight, he shut down the Jorge fight, and he shut down the Stephen Thompson fight. But in truth, he was open to fighting all of them if they were available on March 13th.
Yep. Which
none of them were.
Yep. So, you can respect that as well, because I mean he has been sidelined for 18 months or so.
Yeah.
And how many, twice now, or is it even a third time now that he's lost that fight with Chavez?
This will be the third official booking, yes. Yeah.
So and he was that was him taking an unranked guy, or like a top 13, like outside the top 10 guy. So why should he wait any longer?
This is it.
He's been playing ball.
Everything that's happened with COVID hasn't hit, in my opinion, any fighter worse than it has hit Leon Edwards. If you go back just over a year ago, Leon Edwards was booked to headline an event in London against Tyrone Woodley in what was perceived to be a number one contender fight. That obviously fell through due to COVID. Woodley got booked over stateside, and Leon was kind of told, look, we'll try and get something together. Then he was kicked out of the rankings for not taking fights that realistically weren't available to him because he couldn't travel due to COVID, etc. Then the whole debacle with Chavez came about, and he's been facing that for the last 6 months. So you have to feel sorry for him a little bit. A guy in an 8-fight win streak, and he's getting a lot of hate for different reasons. I think he just needs to get in there and put on a good performance.
Well, we have a very good point here from Ahmad Arifin II. Smash. Totally agree. And Joe Smith said big nuts on both of them. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a risky fight for either. I mean, can you imagine if Leon Edwards loses,
man,
after being sidelined for so long, and then to slide way back outside the top 10?
Yeah, it's a huge risk, massive risk. It's one of those complete banana skins, and Bilal's skill set kind of mirrors his own in a way. So it's not as if he can look at Belal and go, this is an easy victory. I don't believe it. It is. I would be leaning towards Leon, but it's a tough fight for him.
And of course, you have a couple of other fights that were announced as well. Tyrone Woodley and DeLuque in the welterweight division. So
these have been in the works for a while. But they were officially confirmed today. Tyrone Woodley make his return against Vicente Luque. Woodley on a 3-fight skid, and this is do or die, I think, for Woodley, because he's coming up against another killer. Like, you look at the 3 guys he's lost to: Usman, Colby, and Gilbert Burns, the 3 top in the world, you'd argue, at welterweight. But now he's going in against Luque, another hungry killer. It's a tough run of fights, but we've touched on it before that Woodley hasn't looked himself since he's lost the belt.
That's what I was going to say. I think he's facing a 4th opponent, which is his own negative self-talk as well. I think he's a shadow of his former self from the time he fought Usman.
Yeah,
and he's trigger shy. He's just I would say he's got this kind of like victim mentality
100%
on him as well. No, he had that all the time. He always complained about not being promoted, and he was saying it was because he was black, but at the same time as John Jones was getting the push, and DC.
Well, he believed that Demetrius Johnson didn't get a fair push. He was picking and choosing fighters that didn't get a push. Now, there's been plenty of other fighters that didn't get a push. You look at Amanda Nunes as an example, who's never been given a fair push by the UFC, which is ludicrous. First openly gay champion, first Brazilian female champion, first world double female champion. Do you know what I mean? The list goes on and on.
Cyborg was ahead of her as the Brazilian champion, wasn't she? So
no, because Nunes held
she had the bantamweight first. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
But there were so many things that they could have just made this girl a huge star, and they never really invested in it. So it wasn't just Woodley. Woodley didn't get a push, but that was more to do with the way he fought. And the other one, of course, O'Malley making his return against Thomas Almeida. Now, if this fight happened a few years ago, the old Almeida, I'd be so pumped for this. But Almeida has been on a rough run. He's lost 4 of his last 5. Hasn't looked the guy that signed with the UFC and was that young gun a few years ago. I can see O'Malley picking him apart. I hope O'Malley can put his loss and his character building stuff after it behind him, and just get on and get another win and get back into discussion in that division.
Yeah, well, Ben Riley reckons O'Malley is going to destroy anyway. The colourful hair guy. Yeah, that's accurate.
O'Malley. Yeah,
that's him. That's him. Yeah, I think it's a wrap for Woodley. Hey, dudum.
Vernon Houston. One thing's for certain: 2 of them are getting KO'd. Oh, I think he's talking about the 2 fights. I thought he meant just the O'Malley fight. Yeah. You can be for sure 2 of them are getting KO'd.
Yeah. Who else? We got Trey Kottel. I believe Dana is going to be very critical over Woodley, Lawler, Jacare, and JDS's next performance, and their dominating loss might be their ticket out of the UFC. Yeah, especially in the time that's in it. Yeah, Trey, they're really kind of trimming down the roster at the moment, and
certainly the bigger paid guys.
Yeah, exactly.
They're hard to hold on to if they're not selling and they're not winning.
So one of the MMA opinion writers, Mr. Ben Doucette, another day in the kitchen. So he has the boombox playing in the kitchen. So everybody's trying to make food, and we're just distracting them with our bullshit here. But keep her lit, guys. Make sure you'll be kind of putting out the good food for the people, keeping them sustained.
Make sure and cook Ben something nice, because he's entertaining you all, of course.
Of course.
We do need to move on to this week's card, though. It is a good one. Oh, sorry, the Bellator rankings. We didn't even get into it.
Yes, that was the other one. Yeah. And of course, just Kevin said it's paychecks or P45s. Do you have P45s in America? Ben, will you let us know? Does anybody in the kitchen get a P45 if you burn a steak? Because P45s in the UK means, here in the UK and Ireland, means that you're getting fired. But yeah,
and Andy jumped in ahead of us. Yeah,
you just got our segue sorted, Andy. What's your thoughts on the Bellator ranking announcement and the impact on Irish fighters in particular? So P45, no P45s, and so what do you call him? A pink slip?
Pink slip or something. Pink slip is for a car, no?
No, I don't know.
Pink slip is what you get.
What piece of paper do you get if you get fired in the States? We'll come back to that. But yeah, so the Bellator have announced top 10 rankings for each of their
8 men's divisions, 2 women's divisions.
Correct, and 1 each for the pound for pound for men and female. So yeah, about time. You've been calling for this for ages.
It's long overdue. The concern, of course, is, like Andy kind of nodded to there, that I think it's going to be tough for the European fighters initially to get their names on those rankings, because it seems to be heavily, the people that they've picked are heavily featured from America. There's a few from Asia, a few from Russia. But I think there might have only been 1 name from Western Europe from what I could see on that list. So it is going to be tough for them to get featured in those rankings. But the only answer to that, of course, is to fight someone in the rankings and take their spot. But yes, we would like to see someone from the UK, someone from Ireland on board with this. So it would have been good to be kind of have their foot in there.
And there was so we know this as well. There was a few different outlets kind of saying that they weren't going to be part of the ranking system. That I couldn't get my head around it early. Like when I saw the likes of Luke Thomas and a few other
the guys at Severe MMA,
they all saying that they they declined an invitation to be on it or something to that. Something to that effect, and I just couldn't get my head around it. I just feel that it would be a massive honor, and almost a promotion if you were on the kick of MMA media, if you were a journalist for MMA media, having an input into the rankings and getting your name out there to a wider audience. It's just a win-win all around for me.
No, there are guys, like I don't think Luke Thomas is too worried about getting his name out there.
Of course.
So I think from the reasons that I've seen, there's 2 main different reasons given for people not signing up. The main one being that they believe that it was conflict of interests to be voting on fighters that they talk to, and that so they might be closer to others, whatever it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's journalistic integrity. People just assume that you're doing it as a subjective thing. And I think the other main reason that was given is the fact that there were so many issues with the UFC rankings, and the fact that they didn't have full control of the UFC rankings. Now, if that's your reasoning, I think that's all wrong, because you're not giving Bellator a fair shake. You're not giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to do it right, based on what UFC, a completely different promotion, have done before. So I don't think they've given them a fair shake if that is your reasoning. I think, like you say, it's a complete honour to be asked. They should have been, whoever was asked should have taken it on and at least given it a chance to see if it was worthwhile. That the more people in the know that are making up these rankings, the fairer they are going to be, in my opinion. So, but I like Andy pointed to, I think it's going to be, with the exception of a few Irish fighters that are brands almost within the Bellator staple, that it's going to be difficult for a lot of the other guys to be into those rankings off the bat.
And if you want to get a preview of what the heavyweight rankings are going to look like, you should check out Mr. Andy Hickey, Up the Darce on Twitter. Check out his feed, and he had actually a breakdown of what the likely top 5 or 6 ranks are going to be if you go based on Bellator's criteria. So,
and it's quite alarming.
So like Jake Hager is definitely going to be in the top 3 or 5.
Like, based on the criteria they have and on current records and current form, Jake Hager has to be ranked in the top 5. I read that list 10 times over trying to figure out how you could leave him out of the top 5, and I can't find a way. Which, if you're one of those journalists and you're going through that list as well, you're going to be pulling your hair out trying to find a way to not put this guy in the top 5, because we all know he doesn't belong up there. But based on Bellator's current criteria, maybe they'll learn and maybe things will tweak and change a little bit. But yeah, it's a bit bananas. And that heavyweight division, of course, you have Ryan Bader with the title. And apparently at the end of April of this year, he's
no longer eligible to be
he's
ranked.
no longer eligible to be ranked, even though he's champion. And surely there's a question there has to come up. Do you have to vacate if you're no longer eligible? So it is certainly a strange one.
Well, there'll more likely be teething problems, as there has been for any new a thing. But I mean, if they're going to readjust the rankings every week anyway, they'll get a chance to iron them out. But it does give clarity for guys.
100%.
Like, we were even talking to fighters this week who had ideas of who they were going to call out, and then they were like, hang on, let me see what the rankings are, because I might actually be calling out a guy that's behind me in the rankings, and that wouldn't actually forward my career. So now we're going to see a lot clever, a lot more clever call-outs possibly, or call-outs that will actually get someone to the title faster. Yeah.
Because there has been kind of a lack of knowledge, even because when I spoke to Derrick Anderson, a Bellator middleweight last year, he discussed about, I asked him who he'd like to call out, and he openly said, I don't know who gets me closer to a title right now. He said he knows the guys that are right there, but he didn't know who was the next step to get there. So, I think for a lot of those guys, they're going to be absolutely over the moon with this news.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just coming back to our P45s and pink slips there, Ben Doucette said that in the kitchen industry, the servers just eat the mistakes. So you can get a lot of burnt steak if you're working as a waiter and stuff. So most states have an at-will employment, so they don't have to have a reason or a piece of paper saying you're fired. They can just say, get out. Yeah, we've got like a 14-day notice here.
In Ireland, it's bananas. I've worked in management, and you have to give... There's a whole series of warnings you have to go through before you can get rid of someone, and it is fucking nuts. The amount of people that I've wanted to go, get the fuck out.
Yeah, we've tried to fire somebody from the gym before.
And it's difficult.
It took us nearly a year and a half to do it.
Yeah, it's bananas. Because the first warning you put them on, you let them know what is going to create a next warning, so it stops them. But it's very hard.
So most of the rankings board appear to be MMA junkies or MMA junkie writers. Sorry, I didn't mean to call them MMA junkies there, but I don't think they take that as an insult.
Oh God, no. There's 5 or 6 of them from MMA Junkie out of 15. Now, look, MMA Junkie, to be fair, they're one of the biggest sites, and they are spread out. Like, you have Latin America writers, you have North American, you have Canadian-based writers, and I think they have a good couple of European-based reporters as well. So they do give a broad spectrum, but it is a little bit murky that they're tied into the one side. I will agree with that.
So what's everybody else's opinion? If you're listening in, what do you think? Is it a good thing for Bellator? Is it a step in the right direction? Do you reckon it's going to be done fairly? Do you reckon the UFC one is a fair reflection on who's in the title picture, or is it kind of favoritism?
Well, here's the perfect example, and we discussed it already just randomly today, that the UFC's ones aren't fair. Because when Leon Edwards got removed from the rankings to try and force him to take a fight, and that's all it was, the reporters and the people making the rankings had nothing to do with that and no say in it. That was the UFC just taking him out of the rankings. So they have final say and final control. Whereas Bellator have said it'll be a third party and they have no control or no say. And you hope that this is above board and honest in that case.
Yep. Well, we shall soon see.
Yeah.
I think April is the start of early April.
They said they will be released before the first fight, so that they should be out at the end of March, you would imagine.
Okay, so I suppose let's get stuck into UFC Vegas 19. Will we start from the main fight?
We'll start from the main.
Okay.
Makes sense.
So, obviously, we've got Mr. Blaydes and Mr. Lewis.
Phenomenal fight. I feel like this one has been booked forever. I feel like I've been waiting for this fight for 3-4 months. And the obvious narrative here is that it's grappler versus striker, and it is very much that. But there's so much more going on in the fight. We know that Blaydes has been knocked out by Ngannou and has that fear, but just chains his takedowns together. But we also know that Lewis has that ability to just pop right back up.
He's not out of there till he's out of there.
And even though he can be gassed for 3 rounds of a fight, he still has that KO power with a minute left in a 5-round fight. So it is a very interesting fight. It is a very difficult one to call, both on massive win streaks as well. The one concern I have for both these guys is, what do you do? Whoever wins this fight, what do they do next? Do they sit out and wait until... Because we know with John Jones now in the picture, and there's 3 guys there, they could rotate for 2 years between the 3 of them competing for that title.
Yeah, I just think this, like, John Jones just needs to get the fuck out of here now for a while. Like, you know, needs to fight another contender and prove his worth at the heavyweight division. I just don't see him. I don't see it being fair for him to fight for a title straight away at all. You know, and even if he was to fight straight for a title, don't let Ngannou and Stipe take each other out, leaving the prize for John to just steal in the end of the day, you know. Put him against Ngannou, let him get through Ngannou first, and then if he beats Ngannou, then give him a shot or something like that. And it's only the likes of Curtis Blaydes and Derrick Lewis and Alexander Volkov who've been putting these wins at heavyweight together for years. These are the guys that are being hurt.
Of course.
And I don't think I don't think a John Jones fight would sell any less at heavyweight because it's not a title fight. I think he still does pay-per-view numbers at heavyweight, regardless of if he's like him versus Ngannou for a non-title fight.
It's a huge fight, but the concern, of course, is UFC don't like to put on pay-per-view events without a belt being on the line, unless your name is Conor McGregor. We know that John Jones isn't a Conor McGregor draw, and I don't think they're going to put John Jones in a co-main event either. So it's quite a tricky one with John. He's gotten to that stage of his career where he needs to be in title fights, and I think that's their reasoning for it. But I completely agree with you. I think it's shitting on the guys outside of that little bubble at the top. Let's say Curtis Blaydes wins on Saturday. What does he do? Go fight Volkov, and then maybe the winner of Gane and Rosenstruck, another 2 killers after putting 5 huge wins together at heavyweight, which is almost impossible to do. I mean, the fact, if he gets through Derrick Lewis and has to go through another 2 killers, it's insane that he wouldn't have got a shot at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. So how do you see the fight going? What way? So obviously we know that Blaydes is a very strong wrestler, and Lewis is, surprisingly from the shape of him, he's actually very explosive and does flying knees and everything, and you know.
He's really deceptive as a fighter. He's unorthodox in almost everything he does except for that right hand. That's the only thing you're expecting. Everything else is completely unexpected that he throws, and even the way he gets up off his back. He can be lazy at times in there, but he gets away with it because of the way he's so explosive.
He's explosive, yeah.
I've gone back and forth a couple of times on this one. My heart says I want Derrick Lewis to win because I genuinely think he's one of the most entertaining fighters we've ever seen at heavyweight. But I think Blaydes Blaydes is going to get it done. I think he's top heavy game is just a little bit too much for Derrick. And
so I was going back and forth on this as well, like you were saying as well. I couldn't really make my mind up early on, but I've been watching a good bunch of their fights now over the last few days just to try and get some tendencies and some clues as to what I think might happen. So yes, Curtis Blaydes, dominant wrestler, very, very powerful double leg, and if he gets over you on the fence, so if he takes you down on the fence, you're sitting on your ass, and he's bearing his weight down on top of you like a Khabib style. Very, very difficult to deal with.
Yeah,
but in side control or half guard top, he doesn't control the far side underhook, and this is a big rookie mistake. And he's had guys escape from bottom that had no right to escape from bottom. And against a Derrick Lewis, if you make that mistake, Derrick is gone.
Derrick will just stand. Derrick doesn't need much technique. He just stands up.
Yeah.
I've seen him numerous times in his fight willingly give up his back.
Yep.
And just stand up.
Just stand up. Yep.
And be able to fight the underhook or be able to fight the body lock as he's standing up.
Yep.
And he's very, very good at it. The other side of that, and I agree with you, Curtis Blaydes has the record for most takedowns at heavyweight, but that's because he has to take them down over and over and over again.
Yeah, he doesn't keep them down.
But at the same time, that is exhausting, and he's proven he's able to keep that pace for 5 rounds, and I don't think Derrick Lewis will be. Look, there's always, right until the very last second of that fight, there's a threat that Lewis could knock him out, but I just think Blaydes will repeat it over and over and over again.
Yeah, because I just see Lewis, like his takedown defense against the fence is actually very, very good. His balance and his ability to fight underhooks is actually really, really good. Yeah. So I see the double leg game being more dangerous to Lewis, or the trip game. So if Blaydes gets double underhooks or double overhooks and either lat drops him or trips him outside reap, inside reap, those would be kind of more dangerous. But then you're in the open. You're not against the fence anymore, and Lewis gets back up every time. No question about it. So, long story short, I think Lewis gets the KO in the 4th or 5th. Oof. Is it a 5 round? It is a 5 round. I think he gets the KO in the 4th or 5th. I think Blaydes is going to be absolutely goosed. He did you see the interview with the post-fight interview with Blaydes after the Volkov fight? No,
where he was panting.
His eyes were closed while he was being interviewed,
panting. But he put on. I don't think since Cain Velasquez, I don't think I've seen someone put in that much forward momentum and that much pressure and that much output in a fight. I'd have no problem with the guy looking like he's about to die after the fight. Not one stage during the fight did he look like that. Yep.
No, that is true. He did look like he was on a roll during the fight. But taking Volkov down, I feel it's going to be a lot easier than taking Derrick Lewis down.
Of course it is.
So I think he's going to be even more bollocksed from trying to take Derrick Lewis down.
It's the difference of taking down that lamp and then taking down me.
So anyway, I'm going for Derrick Lewis. So we're on opposite sides of the pale here on this one. But just to kind of get to some comments there. We've got a major. Okay, we've got a couple of these to catch up on. Hang on, let's put these on screen here for a second. So first off, Kevin O'Sullivan, one of our top posters, top commenters. It's a great idea for the rankings, but I would say that the people who may be responsible for fucking it up in the future should be forced to fight on a card instead of the person they shafted. Interesting. Actually came out, somebody posted about MMA reporters should have a minimum of 3 fights at some point as well.
I'm one away.
Yeah, no, that is definitely, there is a...
I don't need more trauma in my life, to be honest.
But that is a point that has been brought up. Armchair fans kind of calling the shots is, but at the same time, when you look at some of the best coaches out there, like Greg Jackson, Mike Tyson's coach, I can't remember his name again, but a lot of these coaches were great coaches without ever having fights themselves, and I believe that could be the same for a journalist, a reporter. Like what you need for reporting and having an opinion is critical thinking and
a deep understanding of the sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I take your point, Kev. I'm not sure I 100% agree with it. And he also said that it could work wonders for pay-per-views. It will definitely do that. Because people will have a much clearer understanding as to how close this is to a title fight and stuff like that.
Yep.
So, Peg Guiney. Now, do you pronounce that Guiney or Guinea? Guiney. Well, in Ireland, we know it's Guiney.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying in the States it's a Guinea. But anyway, okay. In the United States, the dominant form of employment contract is at will. It says that an employment contract of indefinite duration can be terminated by either parties at any time for any reason. This means employees can quit at any time and their employer can fire them without any given warnings and without incurring any post-employment obligations. The at-will contract lasts only from moment to moment, at every moment
completed
and at every moment renewed. Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I prefer more, though. What would you prefer? Would you prefer to be able to say
100%?
I'm out of here.
From my own experience in management and some of the people that I've had to deal with, I want to be able to give someone the boot when I want. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But look, it's.
But if you're an employee, you don't get 2 weeks' notice to try and find a new job.
That's true, but they're the risks you take. You look after your employees. You shouldn't have that problem. I believe in progressive management, so I don't see that being an issue. There are more comments there?
There's one more, actually. I thought I had it on screen. Derrick Hickey said, no one called Derrick has technique. We just make it up as we go along.
Not the Derrick Hickey.
And Derek Lewis.
Sorry, yeah.
So you have Blaydes, I have Lewis. Let's move on. We have the co-main event, Ketlin Vieira, Yana Kunitskaya.
Phenomenal fight. Absolutely phenomenal fight. And again, we're back to the bantamweight division and another contender in Ketlin Vieira. And it is imperative for the UFC that they handle this one correctly. Otherwise, that division is going to die. And I can't see Amanda Nunes coming back as it is. There's no fight for her there currently. Ketlin Vieira, look, she's 11-1, only lost to Irene Aldana, and coming up against a tough Kunitskaya, a girl who, even though Cyborg got the finish, she looked gritty, she looked resilient in there. And I'm not trying to say that she doesn't have skills in there, but that's probably her most predominant quality is her toughness. I think Vieira should be able to get her out of there, given the grappling advantage, and that'd be a big statement for me at 35. I know, fair enough, the rankings, she's ranked 4 in the world, fight taking on 8 in the world, but I think a win here, she should be able to get a title fight off the back of it. You're right,
yeah. I was back and forth on these two. I think, I like Kunitskaya is definitely tough as nails. I mean, she had Cyborg worried for the first 2 minutes of that fight, and like who would have expected somebody to outmuscle Christian Cyborg in the clinch?
Yeah,
and that to me is a big key to victory for Kunitskaya in this particular fight. She's going to be stronger than Vieira in the clinch against the fence.
Yeah.
Now she's got a very, very bad habit Kunitskaya has in I'm talking about in this case. She throws single jabs with her head in the air and then pulls straight back out in a straight line, and she's been caught with overhands or crosses over the top of her jab shoulder numerous occasions and left hooks. And what does Vieira do? She hooks like Vanderlei Silva. She's from that Nuevo Onio gym, where it's typically like arm punches. It's not pretty. It's not technical by any means.
There's power behind them.
But there's a lot of power there. So if Kunitskaya is kind of jab heavy, she's going to get caught. But the other thing that Kunitskaya does is she manages range really, really well with her kicks. So she uses an oblique kick on the lead leg of her opponent. She throws body kicks. She throws she throws leg kicks. So that could manage the range, and then she closes the distance then and presses her up against the fence. I actually see this going 3 rounds with Kunitskaya just pressing her against the fence and eking out a decision.
You see Kunitskaya getting away?
I do.
Whoa.
I don't think Ketlin Vieira
has
has
seen that one coming.
I don't think Vieira has the finesse in her striking to land the shots. She has the power. If she catches her, she'll drop her.
Yeah.
But I don't think she has the finesse to get past the long legs of Kunitskaya. And once it gets to the clinch, she's not going to win that.
See, and I believe for Vieira to win, she's going to have to get into the clinch. I just think
she's going to have to get to the clinch to take her down.
Yeah,
but she's not going to get her down. I don't think she's going to get her down.
I think with trips and everything, she will just about get her down. Look, there's 2 fights.
Yeah, she does have a trip
here. Yeah, there's 2 fights I'll point to. Kunitskaya got subbed by Tanya Evander in Invicta, and it was one of those where Evander was going through the phases, and you could see she was ready to tap as just as it was about to go in. And Vieira, we know, has a very good submission game.
Yep.
Managed to submit Sarah McMahon.
Yeah, from half guard.
Yeah,
head and arm choke.
So I just think when it hits the mat, I do think it'll hit the mat. I think Vieira completely outclasses her, and I think that's the equalizer. I think when it gets to the mat, she completely outclasses her. Like you, I do believe it's a fair matchup on the feet. But
yeah, no, it's a great fight.
Yeah,
2 big girls as well for the division.
Well, Kunitskaya came down from 45 and looked like you said, handled Cyborg quite easily up at 45. So she's going to be absolutely massive, even compared to Vieira, who's big enough for 35 anyway.
Yep. So we're on opposite sides of the thing of the draw on this one as well.
Yup.
What's everybody else's opinion, guys? Who have you got?
You're sticking with the team of 2021, and you're going for the underdogs.
Are my 2 underdogs?
Kunitskaya is a huge underdog.
Okay, I didn't see any of the
betting
odds.
And as far as I know, Derrick Lewis is an underdog as well, but I can't imagine it's huge. I'll look it up there as we're going. But yeah, you're the dogs have been barking this year. I will give you that, so I'm not going to rule anything out. But that one particularly did surprise me. I thought you'd be on Vieira 100%.
Yeah, I was kind of flip-flopping until I had a kind of a deep dive in some of the videos, and then but I mean, like I'm picking out some really small details that may not even appear, you know. You know, but again, that's what we all do anyway. So,
but Kunitskaya certainly, like you say, she will have a strength advantage, but it's whether she can avoid being tripped and being grinded down against the cage.
Yeah, I just don't see Vieira getting her to the ground at all, I'll be honest.
You think her underhooks would be too strong and she'd be able to stay on her feet?
Yeah, and she's got some judo as well. Like both these girls have judo.
Yeah.
But it's Kunitskaya's dominance against defense. She, like, as soon as they get to defense, Kunitskaya is going to be on the outside. Caitlin Vieira is going to have her back against the fence, and she's not going to get trips from there. Yep. She might get judo throws from there, but she's not going to judo throw another judoka.
No,
so
not.
Yeah, I just see it. Yeah, that's my opinion on it anyway.
So if you were to put a bet on the 2 of them alone, you'd be getting odds of 11-1.
That's all right.
Nice little double there for you at the weekend.
That's all right. Get on to Ladbrokes there now a little bit later on and stick in that bet. So we also have on the card Derrick Minner and Charles Rosa, and these guys are in the featherweight division, of course.
Yeah,
so
I'm fascinated by this one because you have Derrick Minner, who's still relatively new in the UFC, 2 fights in, but a vast amount of cage time. 36, going into his 37th bout, and a lot of decisions on his record as well, 3-round fights. So there's a lot of cage time there, and he has looked very comfortable in his opening 2 bouts. 1 win, 1 loss so far in the promotion. Going in against Charles Rosa, who has a lot of cage time inside the UFC, but not as much cage time.
Yeah, and he's got a checkered
4-4, and he's traded wins and losses since he signed. So he has never put 2 wins together, and he's looking to do that this time. I just think when you weigh up experience, for me, I think the experience inside the octagon, the experience in the UFC, will outweigh Derrick Minner's experience advantage in fight time. So I can see both are very well rounded. I think Minner just has an advantage on the mat, but only just. But I think Rosa just has an advantage on the feet. I think Rosa just about gets it done though.
See, I see Minner's record being grappling heavy.
Yeah,
but not necessarily grappling winning heavy. He's actually lost quite a lot by submission. And that plays right into Rosa's hands, him being a very high-level black belt. Now, I know we saw Rosa, shockingly, we saw Rosa absolutely dominated by Bryce Mitchell, and everybody was like, how the hell is Bryce Mitchell doing this to a high-level black belt?
Bryce Mitchell is a different person altogether on the mat.
No, absolutely. I'm just the point I'm making is that we didn't expect, like, everybody's opinion of Rosa's ground game was so high at that stage that was shocking when Bryce Mitchell did that to him. And let alone a guy in Minner who's lost quite a few of his fights by subs. So I'm gonna put my hat on Rosa for this particular one. Who did you say?
Rosa.
You had Rosa as
but
well. So we're in agreement there.
It's a very close fight. A lot of people expecting this one to be a finish, a sub finish somewhere, which I wouldn't be surprised with. But I do see it going the distance because they'll kind of cancel each other out in a lot of areas.
But you, like as you said as well, like Rosa does have like his experiences with much higher level guys.
Yeah,
like you have the likes of Bryce Mitchell in there. Shane Burgos is a huge featherweight.
Yeah,
you know, Yair Rodriguez
Kyle
is down there.
Bochniak is very tough.
Yeah, you have Dennis Seaver.
Yeah,
the greatest German ever.
But it's bananas to think that he's in the UFC for 7 years.
Yeah,
because like he's only fought 8 times in the last 7 years, and
still looking fresh there.
I feel like he's still a young guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but his experience, like you say, is against much tougher opponents. Yeah.
On to the heavyweights. So
more heavyweights.
This is a night of heavyweights. We're going to have maybe the Hulk Spillane come in to break down the post fight afterwards. See what he takes of this on Sunday night. But Alexei Olenek and Chris Daukaus, another great matchup.
Phenomenal.
This is like possibly a passing of the torch, or possibly an old school beatdown.
Yeah.
It's going to be one or the other.
I'm telling you straight out now, Chris Daukaus, look, he's had a couple of toughish losses in his career, but he's on a 3-fight win streak right now. He's 2-0, I believe, in the UFC.
And 2 first-round knockouts.
Yeah. And he's going up against one of the most experienced heavyweights in the history of MMA at this point. The guy has, 78 fights?
Hang on. It's
74 fights. Apologies. But it's just absolutely crazy. 74 fights.
Look at this trophy cabinet, boy.
And there's a lot more. I'd say that's just on one corner of that room. But
43 years of age as well, though.
Yeah, he's an older dude. But it's funny because you get him in there and everybody knows he's a submission guy. And those Ezekiel chokes are insane. He can literally catch that from anywhere. But when you see him on his feet, he looks unorthodox. He looks like he's uncomfortable, but he's always able to hang around there on the feet and give people some trouble. But I just think I think Daukaus has that one punch power.
Yes.
And even though there's almost 6 times the amount of fights in favor of Olenek, I can see Daukaus, like you said, passing the torch a little bit, and Daukaus getting a victory.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, Olenek has kind of he's been hit and miss in his recent bouts. His losses are to Overeem, Harris, Lewis, a win over Verdum. Is that really a win at this point in Verdum's career? You know, he's.
But you look at his losses. His losses are only to the big names,
the big heavyweights,
Blaydes,
the heavy heavyweights.
But not even that. They're like the elite of the division. You Blaydes, Lewis, Overeem. Who else is there? You had Walt Harris, but as far as I remember, that's when he was big ticket, and not Walt Harris as we know him now. That has had some troubles or whatever. Yeah, but he was big ticket then when he beat Olenek. So they're not bad losses to have in your, certainly at his age, they're not bad losses to be having on your record.
I just feel that this is a bad matchup for him because like. You know, as you said, Olenek he's an unorthodox striker. He needs to get in close to land his shots. His footwork isn't like, he's not going to dart from one position to another, get in and get back out. He's just going to plod forwards and swing clubs and like
almost wanting to be taken down. That seems like it's his game, that he swings so wildly and leans forward and when he's throwing wild.
Yeah, Daukaus has no interest in taking this man to the ground.
Absolutely not, no.
But the thing is that Daukaus is actually really good in the dirty boxing clinch range, like the Randy Couture range, and also just pinpoint accuracy on his boxing, like pinpoint, almost like an Anderson Silva versus Chris Lieben kind of accuracy. So I see Daukaus getting him out of there in the first round, and it'll be hard to watch, like if that is the case. Yeah. Because obviously Olenek is an OG. arguably a Hall of Famer just based on his experience and who he's been in there with. Not sure has he got the big name draw, but I think this is going to be a passing of the torch for sure.
Possibly MMA Hall of Fame. I don't know about UFC Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just don't. I think he came later on in his career anyway, and didn't. I think if he came in his mid to late 20s and did 60 fights, it would be unquestionable. You know, but but certainly MMA Hall of Fame. The guy's been around forever.
So after that, we've got a middleweight bout. So we've got two guys from your neck of the woods, from the Dana White Contender Series. They came through that route, even though Naz was supposed to fight.
Yeah, he didn't come from Dana White. No?
Well, he was supposed to.
Okay.
And the guy that replaced him got the contract. And then that's so the guy with type 1 diabetes, can't remember his name, is it Jordan Wright? I think it might be Jordan Wright or something. Anyway, but that's who his first fight in the UFC was, and he ended up avenging. He got the contract off the guy who got his place in the White Series. Yeah. So that's what I mean by coming from that
never knew
neck of the woods. But Phil Hawes had an interesting route in. He obviously had his Dana White Contender Series loss brutally knocked out.
But that was to Julian Marquez.
Exactly. Yeah, I was actually
of Taylor Swift fame. Which that story is still ongoing, by the way.
But that was a vicious knockout. That was an old school UFC knockout. I can't remember who did that knockout where they kick someone in the face. Was that Salmon? Rashad Evans knocked out your man Salmon.
Josh Salmon, yeah.
With a head kick to the face
as they were running away, almost. Very similar.
But then he went off and he fought for Brave. He fought for Bellator. Back into Dana White's Contender Series, and then eventually gets back into the UFC.
I mean, he did the circuit.
Yeah,
like he has wins on World Series of Fighting, Brave, as you said, Bellator, UFC. He's done the circuit and he's paid his dues. And
you not blowing anywhere.
You look at the match stylistically. Both guys 9-2, both relatively young in MMA terms. Both on win streaks. Nasruddin's on 6-fight win streak. Phil Hawes on a 5-fight win streak. Both guys are 1-0 in the UFC. The matchmaking couldn't be better, and neither guy goes to the judges ever, like very rarely. Phil Hawes has never ever seen a judge's scorecard, and Nasruddin has seen them twice in 11 fights. So you can be absolutely sure judges will not be involved in this fight. One way or another, this is going to be done within 2.
Yeah. So who have you got for?
Honest to God, you could flip a coin for me. It's that close, but forced to pick, I'm picking Nasruddin.
Okay, we're opposite again on this one. So I see Naz has incredible footwork. His in and out movement, he's like that kind of like karate taekwondo style footwork, but also the power to go with it. His wrestling is not too shabby either. He's got some lovely trips and
very tidy jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, he's all over the place. Now the problem is that Phil Haw has massive power.
Yeah.
Arguably a speed advantage.
Very much
definitely a wrestling advantage.
Yeah.
So
I can't see Phil Hawes being taken down, but I can see Phil Hawes taking Nasruddin down to his own.
He definitely will take him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I could see either one of them knocking each other down, but I just get this sneaking suspicion that Phil is going to have the power advantage.
Yeah.
And I feel that the aggression combined with the takedown ability will mean that he'll be on top for most of this fight.
Yeah.
I'm just leaning towards Hawes on this one.
Yep.
I can't get away from it.
And finally on the main card, we have another heavyweight bout. And this one, for me, could very, very easily be a main event of a fight night. Very easily.
It could definitely main event a UK show.
It could main event anywhere. A young buck that the whole of Europe knows about and is kind of looking at, kind of going, they're going to see it. They're going to see it eventually. Everybody knows what he's capable of. And the UFC still haven't seen his jiu-jitsu game. And then he's going in against a former champion, a legend, who's looking to make a comeback, 2-fight win streak. It's not like Arlovsky's bouncing out the door off the back of four losses. He's taking on the young buck when he's doing well. Like he's looked impressive of late. So this for me is a huge fight. Obviously, the Lewis and Blaydes one is a bigger fight, but I can't see why this isn't at least co-main event on this card.
Yeah, no, it is a huge fight, and it's going to be a fun fight as well.
Yep.
Although, yeah, like I can't see Arlovsky surviving the first round.
Yeah, look, that's the obvious concern. Arlovsky's been knocked out 11 times in his career. Well, KO or TKO. And Tom Aspinall has one hitter quitter power. Just you go to sleep.
And he has a pro boxing win as well
Yeah.
on his record, like so.
And from what I've heard, I haven't seen it, but I'm only going on what I've heard of the man. But apparently his jiu-jitsu game is off the wall as well.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that yet.
Phenomenal. High-level black belt.
Okay.
So Aspinall has this kind of everywhere, and I can't see it going long.
Yeah, yeah. And he'll get to avenge Frank Mir maybe.
Yeah, he has two big wins already in the UFC. This is going to be 3-0. And a lot of people, even though Darren Till is ranked quite high at middleweight right now, a lot of people in the UK and they know about MMA are tipping Aspinall as the next champion from the UK.
Interesting.
So
maybe in 22.
Yeah.
Probably
Look,
not 21.
we just discussed that the number one contenders can't get a fight.
I know.
So it's going to take a while, but this win certainly gets him closer if he gets it.
But if he does get a knockout, so just to kind of put it in context, he joins. I mean, okay, a win against Andrei Arlovsky is huge.
Yeah.
But a knockout against Andrei Arlovsky puts him in with the likes of Ngannou, Rosenstruck, Overeem, and Miocic. That's not bad company to be keeping. Like the very, very top of the division. Any other losses that Arlovsky has been decisions where he's just been kind of trigger shy, not pulling the trigger, not the original Arlovsky that was just a complete and absolute animal. But then
he's still a tough guy to finish. Yeah.
The other comparison as well, somebody else is joining the heavyweight division that we talked about a little bit earlier. Mr. John Jones and Tom Aspinall both have DQs from 12 to 6 elbows. So
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So that'll be a nice one. And of course, Frank Mir is rooting for Tom Aspinall because there's maybe a love child in interest in there somewhere.
Really? What are you talking about?
Is Tom Aspinall not Frank Mir's love child?
Is he? I was wondering what you said with the Frank Mir. This is news to me. Absolute news to me.
So do you know how what's Ben Askren and your man?
I get you now. Jesus, lads! I thought you were actually.
My God!
I thought you were breaking some fucking sinister news here.
No, just taking the piss.
You're talking about Ben Askren, Chase Hooper. I get you now.
Yeah.
That literally went straight over my head. What age is Tom Aspinall?
Good question. Let me just get his record there again. He is 27.
27.
He's a baby in that division.
Hard not to see him being champion in that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Something will have to, for me, something will have to go drastically wrong yet.
So Andy Hickey saying Cage Warriors' most recent exports, Modestus, Herbert, and McKee, have had their troubles hoping Big Tom gets the momentum going again. Yeah. Absolutely. He's
very true.
He's flying the flag for this part of the world at the moment, 100%.
Yeah.
Himself and Darren Till, as you said a little bit earlier, but he does definitely have momentum on his side, and Darren Till seems to be tied up in a Mike Perry kind of feud at the moment, so maybe he'll be stuck in the mud for a while.
He's just having too much entertainment, pissing off Mike Perry, yeah, for sure. Enjoying himself a little bit too much.
But yeah, there's a few good fights in the undercard, but I mean, like we're an hour in now at this stage, so maybe is there any fight on the undercard that really catches your eye that you'd like to have a quick chat about? Or
there's a few. I'll do this really briefly though.
I'm going to leave you go on this one because I'm not really au fait with the undercard, so take it away.
Opening fight of the night is a heavyweight fight as well. And you have Jared Vanderaa, who fought on Dana White Contender Series, the most recent season. Impressive performance, got a KO win. He's making his debut against a guy he called out after his Dana White Contender Series win. He wanted to fight Spivak, called him out, and he got what he asked for. So this is this is throwing yourself into the deep end, because it's not like he called out a guy that's just anybody. He called out a tough, grizzly veteran
from Moldova, is it?
At heavyweight, yes. So he's throwing himself right into the firing line. I'll be very interested to see how he gets on, but he did have a very impressive win on Dana White Contender Series. You move up the card, you have Nate Landwehr versus Julian Rosa, another phenomenal fight. Very interested to see how that one goes. Again, I see this as one. Look, Julian Rosa, I feel like has been around forever. This is actually his third stint now in the UFC. Mm-hmm. He went 1-1, then 0-3, and now he's 1-0. But I think this is a tough stylistic matchup for him. I think Landwehr, he's a little bit younger, a little bit hungrier, and a little bit more well-rounded. I'd give Landwehr the edge just about. And of course, we have Eddie Wineland coming back to face John Castaneda in another big fight. Both guys are 1-3 in their last 4, so this could be a losers leaves town. Pressure's on both guys, and that generally makes for quite an interesting fight. You have Wineland coming back after that really bad KO from Sean O'Malley. We haven't seen him since. And Castaneda looked quite okay against Nathaniel Wood, who we know is a contender. So, interesting fight. And finally, you have Danny Chavez, the Colombian warrior, taking on Jared Gordon in the feature fight up at the top of the prelims. And that's an interesting one as well. I think Danny Chavez is one to keep an eye on. 4-fight win streak, 11-3. Jared Gordon did get a big win over Chris Fishgold, and we know how tough he is. So, yeah, and you even look, Jared Gordon's losses. Guy hasn't been in the division too long, and he's already fought Diego Ferreira, Charlie Olives. So it's a tough one, but a good fight. And that's my ranting on the prelims done. Okay,
fair enough. Well, I'm not going to have anything to add to that. This is one I meant to ask you. This guy here, Ayman Sahabi. Yeah. Is that Farhad Sahabi's younger brother? Because he's in TriStar.
Ayman Zahabi, yeah, it is indeed.
Ayman
Zahabi.
That is a good Irish name.
Yeah. And he actually does a lot of the cornering now for TriStar as well.
Okay.
But look, he hasn't looked fantastic since his debut in the UFC. He's 1-2 overall, and that's over a course of a few years now. And Draco Rodriguez is going to be a very tough out for him. He's making his debut after a huge sub win on Dana White Contender Series as well. So tough one for him.
So yeah, so we're on opposite sides for most of the fights. We're going to have interesting kind of a betting war. I'm definitely putting a good few quid on this weekend now, because I did okay last weekend. I think I might be slipping into a gambling habit here.
You earned some money last weekend. You were 10, 15 quid and you're...
I might become like a gambling addict from this podcast.
Yeah, I like most people. I'm down this year. I only ever have a little tipple each week, but my God, the dogs have absolutely ruined me so far this year.
So, anything else happening we're going to do? I suppose we have the review show on Sunday night. We'll have Ryan the Hulk Balan. So if anybody wants to ask him any questions or throw some shade in him, that'll be the time to do it. In the meantime, MMA Opinion on Facebook. Let's keep her lit, guys. The comment section, I just read through this every day, and just like there's so many people out there with some great knowledge. Some fantastic opinions,
and there's always some good debate in there as well on
absolutely
on the posts.
Absolutely. And some of the lads on the staff as well are taking pride in breaking some news stories this week ahead of some of the major sites. So fair play. I don't do a lot of news posting because I'm usually late to the party on most of these things, but certainly all the lads have some good timing.
Definitely. No, they don't miss much. We have a group chat going, and it lights up all day, every day. As well as that, be sure and show your support. Get over to YouTube and subscribe to the MMA Opinion. You'll see the page has our logo on it. We really appreciate your support over there as well, guys.
So that'll be it. That'll be us for our show. So until Sunday night, guys, thanks a million for watching. I'm just going to check and see if there's any more no more comments. Thanks a million for watching in, guys. Thanks for commenting along. And we will talk to you guys on Sunday night.
I want to fight with Chuck. Chuck.
I think he just blew his wad there.
Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck.
Are you still drunk right now? Are you still drunk? What's going on?